Hello, welcome to episode 148 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, 2007's No Country for Old Men, directed by the Coen brothers, adapted from the book of the same name by Cormac McCarthey, and a very successful film. It won the Oscar for Best Picture, Best Director for both of the Coen brothers, Best Adapted Screenplay, again for the Coen brothers, and Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem, who plays Anton Chigurh in the film. Now, I saw this a few years ago, I think. I bought the Blu-ray for like £2 from Blockbuster, and I'd heard that it was a great film, but it didn't look that interesting to me. But for some reason I checked it out, and it blew me away. I thought that was incredible. I haven't revisited it since, so I wanted to show it to Connie so we could do the review, obviously.
I'm so glad you made me watch it.
Yeah, it was a real tough, well, not a tough sell, but anytime I'd mention the title, you'd be like, ugh. And it doesn't sound...
Yeah, because I had no idea what it was
boring.
about.
It's a bit of a boring... I didn't want to tell you anything, because I knew that you'd like it, because I knew how strong it was in so many aspects. And
you know what movie I thought it was?
What?
The Road.
Oh, okay.
I thought that I was waiting for Viggo Mortensen.
Which I think I think that's a Cormac McCarthy book as well. I might be completely wrong on that, but anyway.
What's funny is that he said he was going to put it on, and I'm like, all right then, I'll just draw or do something else if I don't like it. But I was drawn right in.
Yeah.
It starts really well too.
It does. It doesn't just start well. It goes on well. It's such a well-made film, and the story.
Many great parts.
The story surrounds three central characters. One is Llewellyn Moss, who's we know a little bit about his backstory, but he's kind of just, we see him in the film as a hunter out in the film takes place in Texas, near the kind of Mexican-American border. And Llewellyn Moss is a hunter who's out in the kind of, the flats, the expansive desert, and he comes across a drug deal gone bad. Everyone is wiped out pretty much, and he just finds this carnage and a shitload of money. And then there's another character who's the sheriff of the local area, and he's trying to deal with the situation that's going on. He's played by Tommy Lee Jones. And then we have a guy who's very mysterious, a hitman called Anton Chigurh, played by Javier Bardem, who won the Oscar for the film. And so you have these three characters and how their story intersects. And a really interesting bit of trivia is that none of them share the screen at any point on the film. None of them share a scene together, the three main characters.
Really?
There's moments where they're kind of occupying the same space, but you never see them in the same shot together, clearly, which I never really thought about until I read about it afterwards. I find that really interesting. But once Llewellyn Moss is played by Josh Brolin, who's a great actor. I really like him in everything I see him in, and he's really good in the film. And he takes this money that he finds from the drug deal gone bad, and Anton Chigurh is after him for some reason. I mean, we get kind of bits of that later on throughout the film. So it's a cat and mouse game of him with this money, and he knows that people are after him, and he's on the run. And murders are being carried out by this mysterious hitman, and the sheriff is trying to figure things out as well, along with a younger deputy. The film has minimal soundtrack. Now, we both thought that there was no soundtrack whatsoever, because it didn't feel like it, but apparently there is about 16 minutes of music that is so low-key that you don't even notice it.
Where is it?
There is music in there, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's a 2-hour film with about 50 minutes of music, and it just feels so silent throughout, but it doesn't stand out like, oh, there's no music. It's like, oh god, there's no music. Like, everything is so well executed that the story just grips you, and you almost don't need that kind of support from a score.
That's one of my favorite parts of the movie, except for the hitman.
Anton, what do you call him, Anton?
Absolutely, just the lack of music whenever there's a really tense scene.
Tension 101.
Yes, because usually you have like a little the strings in the background or something really low in the background, just to amplify it. Well,
there kind of is that apparently. I mean, again, I really didn't notice it, but there are bits and pieces throughout. But
there are times when I actually listened for music. And when I first noticed, I was like, hang on, there's no music, because I could almost hear myself holding my breath.
Yes.
Because that's how tense it was sometimes. You were like, you felt yourself like leaning into the... I would have liked to see like a footage of me watching the movie sped up, because that would probably be like that.
Yeah.
Because I was so into it. It was like open your mouth, jaw dropping tension sometimes. And when I first noticed there was no music, usually I'd be like, oh, this would be better with music.
Right.
But I'm so glad there wasn't, because
Yeah.
it actually was better without the music. Because you feel more like you're there then.
Yeah, it suits the tone of the film as well.
Yes, because you're supposed to be quiet during those tense scenes, and it is really, really, really well done. And the acting is so good.
Top notch.
Oh, the hitman guy, my God, I've never seen him before.
You have.
That I can remember. And so when I first saw him, I was just thinking like, oh, he is a bit weird looking. But when he started talking, and
he has a commanding charisma to him that
yes.
Makes you listen to every word he says.
Yes, because he's the kind of guy like you can't look at him straight. You look at him like that.
Right.
I was like you're trying to analyze, like, is he joking right now? Is he, you know? Because he keeps asking the same question. If he doesn't get the answer he wants, he asks again. And he's so terrifying. It was a freaking horror movie for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I understand, like, why you think Terminator is a horror movie, because it's horrifying to you.
Yeah.
This was horrifying.
I mean, this is the best Terminator film since Terminator 2. You know, I mean, it's he
oh my God! Yeah, I would love to see a full movie with just him. You know. Like,
well, it kind of is. It kind of is.
Yeah, but
really.
I want to see another one.
Right.
I just want to see what he did before this. Why is everyone else so scared of him? You know.
Yeah.
I want to see how he.
I like that though. I like the mystery around it. I like
course,
the lack of backstory. You know.
I love that. I want to see more, but it's just.
Yeah.
So good, and
he's easily the standout performer of the film.
Oh, definitely. But everything else is great with it too. Like, I thought Woody Harrelson. There's a scene where Woody is extremely uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easy way.
He's in a tense situation.
And he plays it amazingly.
You could tell that he's like you said to me after the film. You said you could tell that he's trying not to.
He's playing someone who's playing not scared. You know, he's trying to look.
But he's failing.
Like he's not trying to look scared, and it's and that's really hard to try and
I'd imagine, yeah.
act something.
It's like layers
Acting
within layers
something.
of acting.
Yes, it's a fucking inception of acting. That's what it is, inception action. It's freaking amazing. I was just thinking like, wow, that's probably what I would try and do, you know, try and look cool about it, you know?
But
then
you
it's
probably
like, and
fail.
then he does something like that, and it's like, what a weird thing to do in a situation like that, you know? You wanna look at the guy.
Yeah.
But he's trying not to, because then he would read him as scared. It's just so great. So, and he doesn't have much either in the movie.
No, Woody Harrelson has a small but integral part to the film.
Yeah. And Tommy Lee Jones as well. There's a scene where he is pretty tense in a way. Like, you can see there's a lot of questions in his head, as like thinking about doing something or thinking about doing something else. And the conflict on his face is very convincing.
Yes.
And
he's a great actor. He's always great.
He's always been great.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's just that scene was his best in that movie, I think. And then you have Anton, which every scene was just great.
Yeah, it's just killer performance, no pun intended.
He's so scary.
Yeah, and
great.
And I think Josh Brolin did a good job of Llewellyn Moss because it's a character who, you know, essentially has stolen this money and kind of makes moves that aren't really the most kind of like not the best choices, but you still root for him. You still kind of want him to, you know, to kind of keep evading Anton.
But you also kind of root for Anton in a way.
No, I don't.
In a Joker kind of way.
I don't. No.
I wanted him to find him.
I don't know.
Because when he did find him, I thought that scene was so great. I wanted him to find him again.
One thing I want to say is that the film is very violent. There's a lot of violent deaths, and it doesn't really shy away from some of that the more gruesome details. But it doesn't feel like an overly gory film for the sake of it. What it does is it shows you how Anton will kill people, and how ruthless he will be, and how he will bludgeon someone, or how he will just do these things, because each time he does that, you see how he kind of approaches murder with such wild abandon that you know that when he catches up with Moss, like he's done, you know. So it really makes the tension even bigger, because you're like, God, as soon as he catches up with him, he's done, he's finished. So he has to keep going, and again, it's like a chase movie in a way when he's trying to get away from this guy. And there's a lot of
It's
interesting,
so great.
there's a lot of interesting things you can read into the psychology of Anton, because he has these scenes. There's one where he's at a gas stop talking to the attendant there, and he basically has a coin flip over whether he's going to kill him or not. He doesn't say that, but that's what he's implying, and it's a really well written scene and performed by both the actors. But you get little peeks into his psychology of what he believes is right and wrong, and what he does for a living, killing people. And the order of things, like the fact he uses a coin toss, is very interesting. It's
so well written like that.
Yes.
Because even like that woman at the trailer park, when she said, "No, I can't tell you where that guy is," it's like, "Where is he?" He asked like 3 times, and then you know, right, he's gonna kill her. But you hear the toilet flushing.
Yeah.
So he knows she's not alone, so he walks away. And I'm just thinking he would have killed her, but he chose not to because there was someone else there who hadn't bothered him, and he would have to kill him too just for seeing him. And he was probably thinking, I shouldn't kill 2 people, or maybe he was thinking he could call it. I don't know.
You're always wondering what's going on inside his head. It's one of those interesting
it's so
characters.
Great. And he doesn't look like the way he killed someone was just like picking up a cup of coffee. It's like so normal.
And that's the chilling thing about it, I guess.
No emotion on his face.
So what I would like to do is to not say anything about the ending of the film, just give our feeling of the ending of the film, and whether we think it's a film you should see. Well, you know what we're going to say to that, and then we'll go into a little bit of spoiler talk at the end, just to kind of talk about it. But the ending, when I first saw the film, was like, like, wow, why? Like, it was so good up until that point, and and I was talking to people like, did you like the ending? I don't know, it's so conflicting. So I was hoping watching it again would give me a better appreciation for the film, and it did, but I still couldn't help feeling disappointed by the way that the film pans out in those last 10-15 minutes.
There would have been such an easy fix for that for me.
Right, well, yeah.
To fix that, yeah.
But I don't think artistic intentions can be fixed. I mean, that's the way that I guess the book was set out, that's the way they wanted to make the film, so I definitely am on board with them telling the story the way they wanted to, and not to kind of do it in the way that I wanted them to.
I feel like I was watching the cut version.
Okay.
And they deleted a very important scene.
Yeah, that's a good criticism to throw in there, I think. But
it's a full page missing out of the book for me.
But the ending aside, or at least what happens in the last third of the film, or like the last 10-15 minutes, I still think it's a fantastic film, and I still think it's a film you should see before you die. Because it's just done so well, it's executed so well, and I think that it's an interesting ending to go with as well, and I appreciate that kind of a different ending. I don't think it makes the film fall apart. It's just I get disappointed by what I want to see out of it, but that's okay sometimes. So
same for me. It's such a small percentage of the movie, and everything else is so great. So it doesn't make the movie worse for me.
Yeah.
But it would have made it better if they would have put in that last.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. So is it a film you should see before you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to see it again sometime soon. With
a
different
mindset.
See it again. Yes.
And knowing what happens.
And listen for the music.
And listen for the music, yeah. So yeah, film you should see before you die. Absolutely. I mean, it won all the Oscars, rightfully so. But it's just the performance, the cinematography is stunning as well. The film opens with a scene of narration from the sheriff, played by Tommy Lee Jones, and just these gorgeous shots.
Yeah, but it's pretty easy to film over there.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot going
Everything
with the scene, but no, I think that really works well, the way that the film was shot. Right, so you've heard our thoughts. Let's get into some spoiler talk. So, Llewellyn Moss dies about, I think, 15 minutes before the end of the film. He's still on the run from Anton. He checks into this motel, and he starts chatting with a girl outside of the motel by the swimming pool, and it's kind of alluded to the fact that he might have a couple of beers with her or something like that.
And there's a black fade out.
And it fades to black.
Smiling.
It fades to black. And then the next scene, the sheriff, Tommy Lee Jones, turns up at the motel after being tipped off by Llewellyn Moss's wife, who, I forget the actress's name, Kelly MacDonald, I want to say. She was very good in the film. She's a good actress, and she played the part well. He turns up, and
there's a shooting going on.
Llewellyn Moss has been shot dead, and we see his body on the floor, and that's it. We don't get the satisfaction of Anton catching up with Llewellyn Moss and seeing those two characters have a face-to-face, because in the film they do have a conversation on the phone, which is a great scene.
And they're in the same building.
No, that's when Llewellyn Moss was in the hospital, and Anton was in the hotel. Remember that scene?
Yeah, I'm talking about they are in the same room at some point almost.
They're not really in the same room at some point. I mean, he jumps out the window. It's very much.
Yeah,
I'm talking about a face-to-face where they talk to each other,
right, yeah,
and then
yeah,
we have
yeah.
the big, the blow-off. Never happens. He wasn't killed by him either. It was just some random, by the looks of it, some random kind of shooting. Just one of those things. It seems like. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Is it really...
No. It was because her mom told these guys where he was.
Right.
And those guys worked for Anton, and they went there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, you don't get the satisfaction of these two. The protagonist, the antagonist, they never really meet and have the big blow off at the end.
And you don't even get to see the protagonist die.
Nope.
You just see him dead on the floor.
You just see him dead on the, and it's very unsatisfying.
Yeah, because you've seen him go through so much.
Exactly, and
he's been hurt so much.
Swimming through a river, getting chased by a dog, and kind of getting shot, and having to stitch his wounds up. All this, he goes through so much in the film, and then he gets killed off screen. It's hard, even how great the film is, to not be bothered by that.
It just feels so missing. It
Yeah.
feels like they filmed it and then someone burnt it.
But I think that the point of that is to do with the random order of things, which is what the film taps into a little bit, especially with when Anton gets involved in a car accident. Just how anything can happen at any time, and you never know what's going to happen. But I don't feel like this is the film to tell that story, because it was so well done up until that point. And it still was well done, but I just feel like it missed that punch that could have really sent it home.
And the last thing you see of him as well is just him talking to some random woman by the pool, and then him smiling, and it fades to black.
Again,
it felt to me like the actor who plays him died during the shooting of the movie.
Right.
And they didn't know how to end it other than putting a random body on the floor and saying it was him. Because when I watched it, didn't even see it was him. I didn't realize he was dead until the sheriff takes his hat off in front of his wife.
Right, and let's not get into that, because
No,
I don't agree that it's hard to see that it's him, and we'll just leave it at that, because we can get to a big argument about it. But either way,
it was probably just because it was so unbelievable that it happened.
Fair
like
enough.
that.
Fair enough.
I didn't want to believe it.
Now, after that point in the film, we have another couple of scenes, particularly Anton visiting Llewellyn's wife, and that's a great scene. So it's not like the film falls apart there. It's just the satisfaction is missing in that moment. And so
it stays with you.
Yeah, and it does stay with you, and then you get the payoff with Anton, where he may or may not have killed Llewellyn's wife, and I like that scene, and the ramifications of it.
I am so sure that he killed her.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wipes his feet off when he goes outside. And
we see him doing that earlier on in the film as well, so it's kind of a clue that he did end up killing her. But I like her moment of defiance there, where she doesn't call the coin that he flips that will decide her fate, and again ties in with the way his psychology works with what's like the kind of cause and effect and all that. And then he just driving down the road and gets hit by a car.
And that scene is so great. There's some tension there going on as well. You know something's going to happen. He's looking up at the light, it's green, and then he looks into the mirror.
You've been trained throughout the film to know that something's going to happen if nothing's happening.
and he's looking into the mirror and he sees behind him, so he's not looking at the road. But then he looks back at the road, and then up at the green sign again, and the green light, and he's like, something's wrong. And he's just in crossing, and then BAM! And it's like, jump scare.
You jumped big time.
I did jump. I knew it was coming, but I was so tense because I was just like waiting for something.
Yeah.
And that was great. It's like a cockroach.
Yeah. And then
Sir, you got a bone sticking out of your arm.
And then the final scene is the sheriff telling his wife about a dream he had. And then I woke up, and that's the end. And that is certainly a scene when I first watched it that just was so underwhelming. Watching it now, and thinking about it more, knowing that it was coming, I could appreciate the performance in that scene and the writing, and that's kind of the twist of the film, is that it switches the protagonist from Llewellyn to the sheriff, and it's the sheriff's story. And if you remember, the beginning of the film is him telling a story over the narration, but you don't see him physically in the film for like 20 minutes. So it becomes, the perspective changes, I guess. And this guy who's kind of seeing all this stuff, or hearing about all this stuff happening and trying to track down what's happening, going to the crime scenes and stuff, and just missing it every time, and getting out of his depth and realizing that this is to quote the title of the film, No Country for Old Men, and you have a guy who's looking back on his life and the fact that life has kind of overtaken his pace and place in life, and that's kind of what his final monologue is about, and it's brilliantly performed, but I still can't quite let go of the disappointment of the other thing. But I still think that it's a 10 out of 10 film. I just think that it's so well done across the board that it doesn't take away too much, because again, I appreciate that it did something different, but I still would have preferred the payoff.
If I had seen Llewellyn, why is it a man's and a woman's name? I don't understand. If I'd seen him die and that death would have been more satisfying, then Tommy Lee Jones' speech in the end about his dream and the last words before credits, and then I woke up, that would have been, it would have been great. It would have been a really good ending, because I understand why he stopped being a sheriff. I understand the thing about his dad and why that ties to it, and why he's dreaming about him, I guess, and how it ties to the story. And also, I accept that the killer gets away. That's completely fine, because it's different.
Yes.
But I don't. It's the only thing. Which is, if we could have just seen him die.
Yeah.
Then the movie would have been 11 out of 10. It would have been more or less perfect for me.
Right. Yeah.
Still a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect because of that one thing. It would have been so damn near to perfect.
Yeah,
it's like it's so up here, and then
I think
that thing happens, then it's like. Doof,
I think the point
and it
is
goes back up again.
The point is we both think it's a 10 out of 10 film, because we're never gonna say, oh, do you want to watch No Country for Old Men? Oh no, because of that thing. No, you're like, oh yeah, that'd be great to watch again.
Yeah,
know?
And then
it's not going to take away from us going back to it and rewatching it, you know. So
because it's just one scene.
Right.
And everything around it is so great.
It's just an odd choice to not show the death. It's weird.
I'm just gonna try thinking like, oh, they lost that scene.
You have to prepare yourself for it, I guess. But
I wish they could.
I definitely preferred it more the second time round, I have to say. So hopefully
because you knew about it.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah. So you know, maybe you'll find it a bit more easier to digest when you watch it again.
Yeah, it's just so distracting because I kept thinking about it afterwards, and even though there were really great scenes after it, like, because I kept thinking like, well, so this is it then.
Right, yeah.
And so it was distracting, so I do look forward to seeing it again and just accepting the fact that they made a mistake, and that's what I genuinely believe they did.
Yeah.
Because we're obviously not the only ones who think that thing is missing.
I'm not sure. I really don't know, because it's such an acclaimed film. I haven't really heard many people. Well, I haven't seeked out people talking about it that much, and I think that's quite a well-regarded film.
I feel like I just did a 10,000 piece puzzle and one piece is missing. It's not complete to me.
And I'll throw one criticism that is a tiny thing. It doesn't even matter, but in the great scene at the gas station, which is what stood out in my mind the first time I watched it. When we were sitting down to watch this, I was like, I can't wait for that gas station scene again. You know, call it. And I noticed this time around that Anton is eating from a bag of peanuts the whole time. And I love that when he finishes it, he puts it down on the table and it kind of unwraps a little, not unwraps, but like, you know, when you crunch up a piece of plastic, it kind of expands. And it's like the tension kind of, you know, I thought that was a brilliant way to kind of add to the mood of the scene. But every time it cuts between angles, you can see he's putting up something to put in his mouth and then the hands back down again, and the continuity was all over the place. And I was like, oh, it was really distracting me. So I'm going to have to remember that next time and just not look at the hands, because it was so... Ugh.
Yeah, I didn't notice that at all because I was so into the scene.
Yeah, and I didn't the first time I watched it either, so I don't know. That was annoying.
That guy was great too. Like,
yeah, the gas station attendant.
His nervousness.
That's another point I should say before we round this video off, which has been so much longer than I thought, but it's a great film, so it's worth talking about. A lot of the side characters are really great, really well cast. You know, just they're in it for like 2 minutes, but you know, nice casting, good performances that kind of support everything else. But it still is about those main three, and I would argue that main one, Anton, I think, he really is the driving force behind it. But it's really three very different characters, and they work very well together in the same film, even though they don't share a scene. So.
Yeah, that came as a shock to me when you said that.
Yeah, you don't think about it when you're watching it, but they don't.
Yeah. Great.
I mean, there's a scene where the sheriff finds Llewellyn's body, but he's looking down and we cut, so we never see them in the same shot together. So they occupy the same space, but not the same screen time. So that's it. No Country for Old Men.
Great movie.
Great movie, and definitely one you should see before you die. So
yeah.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Brilliant movie.
Brilliant movie. Throw all the superlatives at it. Brilliant, fantastic, masterpiece.
No, but it is brilliant.
Yes.
Should read the book.
Should read the book, yes. I've heard different things about that. Anyway.
They say that the movie is better.
Yeah, they do. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.